So hello everybody, Reece's Reviews here, and welcome back to another film review on my channel. So, I've admitted in, my Disney series that I'm doing, that I haven't watched a lot of the animated Disney classics, which are pretty big films. Now, another big set of films I haven't watched is superhero films. I've never the ones I've watched, I've only really watched a couple. I'm trying to think. I've watched the Fantastic Four, the 2005 one, and that was just awful. And then I watched Deadpool, and Deadpool was really good. So I want to start watching them. I do. And so I also want to watch a lot more new release movies, rather, because I'm doing all these old Disney films and all the Pixar films I've already watched. I want to watch new releases. So, what better to watch than Spider-Man Homecoming or Wonder Woman? And I want to watch both of them, but this first one I watched was Spider-Man Homecoming. So it was directed by John Watts. The music was composed by Michael Giacchino. And some of the cast you had was Tom Holland was Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Michael Keaton was Vulture, the villain. And the love interest of Peter Parker, Liz, was played by Laura Harrier. So what I'm going to do for these movies, what I want to do now, is I'll keep my positive and negative, but for people that just want to know how I felt about the film, I'm going to just do just talking about overall how I felt, and then go into the positives and negatives, because I know not everyone is really bothered about that. So, overall, I thought the movie, it took, I think, a good half an hour to actually get going. And in that half an hour, I did get a bit bored. But I think it ended up being a very tense, on the edge of your seat, action-packed movie. And there was some fantastically choreographed scenes with some really, really, really stunning action set pieces. So that's how I overall felt. But let's get into the positives of this film. So the positives was, I think Tom Holland was a stunning actor in this film. I think he did such a good job as Spider-Man, because I think he found that perfect balance of Peter Parker and Spider-Man in playing both iterations. Like, when he was playing as Peter Parker, there was always that little bit of Spider-Man in him, and when he was playing Spider-Man, there was always that little bit of Peter Parker in him. That was really hard to say. So I think he just got that perfect, connection really, really well. And, not to mention here, he's not the ugliest. But yeah. I actually just think that, all jokes aside, he is a really good actor, and I think he did really well in this role, and I'm happy that he got it. Second, I thought that the action set pieces in this movie were just amazing. I think in the trailers there was the boat scene, or at least a snippet of the boat scene, and it was just executed so perfectly in this film. That moment when Spider-Man was just in the middle with his webs like this, both sides of ship, it just kind of all went silent, and you were like, Jesus, I can't imagine what he's going through right now, but it was just stunning to watch. And then second of all, there was this really good one at the Washington Monument, which was just amazing. So yeah, it was just really, really well, visually stunning as a film. And finally, there was this, I thought, because the villain twist, I thought was a bit, this is a spoiler review, but I usually don't, specify spoilers, but this is a newish, still quite a recent release, so spoilers are coming up in my next point. So if you don't want spoilers, click off the video now. So there was a fun villain twist, I thought, with Vulture. So Vulture, he'd been this kind of bad guy who, he'd just been your average bad guy all the way through, and then we find out that he is actually the father of Peter Parker's love interest, and that was unexpected to me. And it's a part where I think Tom Holland's acting, just comes in as, another example of how perfect I think he was just amazing in this film, was that whole sequence where they were in the car with Liz, Peter Parker, and Vulture. I forget the name of the actual Vulture person. I forget his name. So we'll just call him Vulture. That whole scene was so just well scripted. It was awkward. It was well shot, and you really, really did feel for Peter Parker in that scene. And then Liz got out of the car, obviously, and he was like, "I will kill your family," and that was like a punch in the gut. Really, it was like, whoa. Honestly, it was really just such a tense scene, and I loved it. But there are a couple negatives. And the first negative, and I mean, I like Robert Downey Jr. as much as the next person, but I felt like Tony Stark was a little too, like, on the nose with Spider-Man. Like, a little bit too too much. Because Tony Stark says himself, he's just a 15-year-old kid. I apologise for the noise. So, this kind of 15-year-old kid is trying to keep a boat together. A ship, a ferry. And then he doesn't do it, whoops. And Tony Stark takes a suit off him, and I'm like, it wasn't like you were going to do anything, were you? I mean, you did do something, but I don't know, I didn't really feel like that was a good move on Tony Stark by taking the suit away from him. But I think overall he was a good character, and I mean, it's Robert Downey Jr., it's hard to hate him. So, the next, I thought Vulture, while that scene in the car was really, really good, I felt that Vulture wasn't the best as a villain. I thought he was a bit bland. Because the reason I loved that part in the car was because Peter Parker and Spider-Man both had their moments. That was what I liked about this scene in particular. Spider-Man, he had the moments with all these action set pieces, which set in part most of the good parts of the story. But then this was such a fundamental moment for the movie, learning about Liz's father being the villain. But because Spider-Man was Peter Parker, it shows that, not everything that happens in a superhero's life is when they're actually saving lives. It's their normal lives as well, and that was what I really liked about this scene. And it goes with Vulture as well. He may be a supervillain, but even on like a day off per se, he's still on edge, and I absolutely love that. But I think overall, as a villain, I don't think he was that strong. I liked his suit. I think he looked cool, but I don't think he was anything that much. And then finally, I felt like the love between Peter Parker and Liz, I didn't completely feel it. And I don't know why exactly that is. I don't know, like, I don't think there was ever a necessity for Peter Parker to have a love interest. It wasn't like he had to save her or anything. Like, yeah, technically he had to save her in in the Washington Monument, but he had to save everyone in there, all of his, team. So, I don't know, I don't think that their love felt real to me. So, for me, Liz was more of, honestly, kind of like a plot, it's just a plot device to just, give Peter Parker some more Peter Parker time as this kind of bumbling nerd. But yeah, that was one of the end, but I didn't think it really, really mattered that much. So, overall, I thought, yeah, this was a strong film. It does take a little bit to get in, but it does definitely pay off. I don't want to say it's an anticlimax at the end, but I don't think the ending is as good as some of the middle action set pieces. So, that's just that. Well, thank you for listening to my review. If you like the video, then give it a thumbs up. Tell me that you like it. And put in the comments what you thought about Spider-Man Homecoming. Subscribe to stay updated with my channel. And I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.